Hey everybody, it's Eric from epautos.com, your Libertarian car guy, and I'm face to face here with the new Chevy Trax, which is, in a lot of ways, a modern day take on the Chevy Tracker that some of you might remember from back in the 90s and through the early 2000s. It's similar in the sense that it's a subcompact SUV, technically really a crossover SUV. It's based on a front-wheel drive layout. But it's very small, very maneuverable, and very inexpensive, and possibly a little bit fun too. It's based on the Chevy Sonic, but it differs from the, well, it shares a platform with the Sonic, but it differs obviously in the cosmetics. It's significantly taller, significantly meaning more than 6 inches taller. It's also a bit longer, slightly longer wheelbase, slightly longer overhangs on either end of the axles. It is similar to and actually competes with other new models in this class, like the Honda HR-V that's going to be out this fall, and also the Mazda CX-3. Now those two are probably a little bit more sporty. The Honda, for example, can be had with a manual, and the Mazda, being the Mazda, probably will also offer a manual, but from the pictures that I've seen, it's a really sharp-looking thing too. But the Chevy does have some cards to play, and one of the biggest cards that it has to play is it's by far the most affordable all-wheel drive crossover that you can get. It's about $1,600 less when equipped with all-wheel drive versus the Honda HR-V. Now, I don't know about the Mazda. That's a wild card because Mazda has not yet released the pricing information, so that's a possibility. But this is a really inexpensive way to get into an all-wheel drive crossover that's also small, very easy to park, won't take up a lot of room in your garage, and gets not bad gas mileage. This thing will get about 34, 35 on the highway, and that's actually slightly better than the Honda, which is pretty remarkable and impressive. Usually Hondas get the best mileage, but not in this case. We don't know what the Mazda is going to do. Let's take a look into it. It has some pretty neat features in here. Also, you've got this kind of a motorcycle style. Here, I'm going to close it so it doesn't beep obnoxiously. You've got this motorcycle style gauge cluster with a big tack over here, and you've got a digital LCD speedometer cluster, information cluster here, and then General Motors gives you, and this is standard in all the models, a nice little LCD touchscreen, and also in-car Wi-Fi and apps and various other features too, and that's pretty neat. You've got 15, count them, 15 storage cubbies that are positioned throughout the car here, so you've got a lot of places to put stuff. This upper one actually has a USB port in it, which is handy. You can put your iPod in there, which is more convenient than having it hanging off here. Now, while I've got the camera pointed down, I'll point out one of the few things that I don't particularly like about this little Trax, and that is that it comes only with this 6-speed automatic, which is a shame. It has a punchy little 1.4-liter turbo engine, essentially the same engine that you'd find under the hood of the Sonic that it shares its platform with. But you can't get a manual, and that's just too bad. It would be a lot more fun with a manual. So why don't they have a manual in this thing? Well, the chief reason is that the federal government's CAFE fuel economy requirements are such that Chevy has to worry about every mile per gallon, and these days a car with an automatic transmission versus the same car with a manual will typically get 1 to 2, maybe 3 miles per gallon better overall, and it sounds like a small difference, but again, these are fleet averages, and so whatever Chevy sells on the bottom end like this gets mixed in with things like the V8 Tahoes and Suburbans. Honda can get away with selling a manual transmission version of the HR-V because it doesn't have big V8 trucks and SUVs in its model lineup and its product portfolio, and as a result of that, its overall averages tend to be higher than Chevy and some other manufacturers. What else? The back seat in this thing is a little tight, and also the door doesn't open particularly wide. That's as wide as it goes. And it wouldn't be so bad if it weren't for the truncated dimensions of the car. You can see here, this part of the car kind of comes up, and so you've got really just this kind of a narrow slot here to get in. So you kind of have to, or at least I do, and I'm a fairly big guy, you kind of have to get in, duck like that, and it's serviceable. You got okay legroom in here, but it's definitely a compact. The Honda has a couple inches more legroom, and that's significant. Makes a big difference if you're a big guy. And also it's got about 2 inches more shoulder room to your sides here. And that too is significant. Not really sure yet about the Mazda because Mazda has not released the specifications for that, so we'll have to wait and see. The Honda has a little bit more room in the back here, but this is not bad. This is pretty cool. You have a decent storage area here now. Of course, these seats fold down. The one thing that is uncommon that it also does, these seat backs also flip and fold forward, so you can actually have this fully flat area. So it really does make the most use of the available space. I think it's a pretty good-looking little thing. You know, it's certainly not unattractive. As I write in my review, which is also up at epautos.com, probably the chief problem that Chevy's got going forward with this is that good may not be good enough. The pictures that I've seen of that Mazda, that's a good-looking little SUV. A lot of people were very surprised by the Mazda 6 and what a great-looking car that was for the money, and even the Mazda 3. Mazda's really got some excellent product on the market right now. And the Honda looks pretty slick too. But you know, this is definitely something that you should look at if you're interested in a subcompact crossover SUV, and in particular, if you want to get it with all-wheel drive and pay the least amount of money possible for the thing. Anyway, the rest of the review is up at epautos.com. Thank you for viewing, thank you for reading, and we will catch up with you next time.